Welcome to the Soul Tribe Podcast. The Soul Tribe Podcast was created to help you navigate through the world of spirituality, wellness, and self-development in an easy, grounded, and relatable way. We break down everything from the Akashic Records, manifesting, spirituality, and so much more. We want to help expand your boundaries and bring the spiritual world to you in a fun and easy way. Get ready to be inspired with tips, tools, and easy to digest information. Let's do this.
Hey guys, Lorena and I are back with another episode, and today's a very interesting one, at least for me. I'm very excited about it. And the topic came up because shout out to our students from October. We were giving our October Akashic Records class, and we're going through the manual and explaining everything, and a question was asked that brought up a whole subject which I wasn't expecting and I had never heard about. So literally while we were, or I was saying the things that are coming in from the question that was asked, Lorena and I were discovering a bunch of really interesting new stuff, and for some reason, we just kept going from there. We kind of deviated a little bit from the class, but that's the amazing stuff when you get like something new, you kind of want to know more. So then I literally jotted it down super quickly so I could continue with the class, but I jotted it down super quickly. I said, we got to do an episode on this. Definitely. And so today we're going to talk about soul versus spirit. So I'm going to start covering and trying to explain what it is that I had gotten during that channeling, the receiving of the channeling of the information. And Lorena and I are both with our Akashic Records open as usual, so we're going to be going from there. Maybe they'll give us more. Maybe they'll continue to talk about inside of that subject. We'll see where it goes. We don't have anything like very written out for this episode. It's going to be very flowy for us. So we'll see how much material we get, how long it is. But it's soul versus spirit. So I think a really good way to begin this episode is to talk about, let's talk about what soul is first. So I think it's really good for us to have a strong definition of what soul is before we get into the rest of the episode. Okay, so everyone that's listening to this podcast episode right now, me, Lorena, my daughter that's in the room, the cat that's behind me, we all, and yeah,
it's so funny. You said the cat behind me, and he just popped his head up, and I could see him. It's so cute.
He's so cute. I know. He knows. We all have souls. So these are all incarnations that our souls are choosing to have. And if you've listened to the episode that we did before about this is the current movie that our soul is living through and we're the current actor, right? We now know that this is one of most probably, almost like 100% probable that your soul has been here before. And so this is just one more of those incarnations. So your soul's the same source. Your soul doesn't change. The only way it changes is it becomes more expansive, more wise. It gains more, call it momentum if you want, right? Or expansiveness. But that's the only way the soul really changes. It keeps learning, it keeps growing, but the soul is the same. It's the same in itself. And again, we already know from that episode that our soul has a different personality than us. Our soul isn't who we are. Our soul is just always the same personality. It picks different actors, different personalities for the incarnation it's having at the time. So source is the creator of the soul. We all are originated from the same place. And I don't know how they've shown it to you, Lorena, before, but I channeled this the other day in a, what's it called? In a Akashic Records reading where somebody asked about how it was, or I don't know, I don't remember the question exactly, but I remember what I channeled because I found it really interesting what I was seeing. And it was that source, it's like shows up like a big, this thing that you can't even look at it directly.
Yes.
It's so overwhelming, right? And so like, I want to say bright and overwhelming, but it's almost bright emotionally as well. Like, right? And it
powerful.
That's where we all originate from. Yeah, powerful. That's where we all seem to originate from that one thing that's showing up. Funny enough, I didn't see it when they showed it to me in that reading. I didn't see it as a man, like, oh, this is God. I didn't see it as, any other God that people might believe in on Earth currently. It didn't have a face.
No,
it didn't have a body.
it's energetic
and it didn't
field.
have it didn't have like an entity attached to it. Like, you're this personality. No, it was just like,
I don't think it can at that level, right? And I have my Akashic
know.
records open now, and I don't tend to ask these very profound questions to my Akashic records, which I should get in the habit of doing a little bit more like you do. But what's coming through for me is that source is the creation of everything. It's so powerful, and I also see it in the soul as well as this ball of energy, a ball of like light. And I see it as like...
Yeah, that's kind of like... But so big that I wouldn't even call it a ball.
Yeah, well, yeah. Well, I mean, the soul, for example, for me, it isn't huge, but it's like a ball of energy as well.
Oh, you're talking about the soul.
Yeah,
Sorry,
no, but yeah, source to me is huge. It's like a planet.
Yeah.
Or bigger than a planet.
Yeah.
Like, it just feels immense.
Yeah.
But the way they're showing it to me is like, it's not next to me. I see it from afar. Because you don't need
Yeah,
to
so
be
there's a far
next
two
to
to
it
me.
to
Yeah.
connect with it. You can connect with it from
Yeah.
anywhere. You can be millions of miles away, they're saying. So it doesn't matter how far you are. But then the source is feeding off of, the soul is feeding off of that source consistently and constantly, they're saying, to the point where it needs that energy to survive. To me, it feels like if it disconnects, it like ceases to exist. That's how it seems to me. It's like, it's like the balance. It's never going to cease to exist, because we know at an energetic level, it's eternity, right? It's not like it has a battery that runs out, right? To me, it feeds off of source constantly, and that's why it's eternal. That's really interesting. So I would say that they're connected completely, source and soul.
Yeah. Yes. And the way I see it, it's correct. That's correct to me as well. Okay, so now we know that's how the Akashic records want us currently to see source. That's how it seems to be for them and for us. And this is the creator of your soul whom seeks to have experiences via incarnations to continue to be more expansive, to continue to understand that source even more, is what the masters are saying. So that's the process, basically. That's why they want to expand. It's not because I want a hierarchy and I want to get up there.
Yeah.
Literally, the soul just wants to understand and be more connected to source. That's its mission.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's basically, it's go-to, if you want to say. That's soul. I think that's pretty inboxed. We got that.
Yeah.
I don't want...
And at a visual level, I see it like, just like we were saying, this ball of energy. It's like so bright, so powerful, so like elevated in energy that it's like, I don't know. It feels also not as powerful as source, but it feels powerful. It feels like pure. That would be the word I'd use. Pure. It feels so pure.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, true. And okay. So we now know also that when we're incarnated, we have a personality trait, which that episode talked about, right? So the personality trait is what the actor that your soul decided it needed to be to live out this experience in life. How does it literally ingrain that personality besides just the brain? How is that ingrained in your being? And this is what we saw in the class the other day.
Yeah.
They call that, and I'm going to repeat this because maybe you might read about something similar somewhere around. They use another term. I'm giving you exactly the terms that the Akashic records are giving us. Okay? So maybe somebody talks about this in a different way. I don't know. I really don't know if anybody's talked about this actually. But just in case. Don't be confused if there's a word is different. Just know that it's probably they're talking about the same thing if you ever read it. The way they ingrain this personality is through, and I'm going to refer to it via the bodies, the hardware. Okay?
The container, the body.
The soul is the plug that keeps the body going, right? If I unplug the soul, the hardware doesn't function. Mm-hmm. Okay? So we're going to stay in computers here.
I love it. That's a great way to look at it.
Yeah. And then I have my personality, which is coded into something they call spirit. So your spirit is the coded information that is fed to your incarnation, your body, your mind, your aura, all of it's connecting with all these things, and it's helping you determine this way of being, this way of seeing, this way of perceiving, being this person, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm going to repeat it one more time. We have a spirit, and the spirit is the encoded information of the personality that our soul needs in this lifetime. My body is the hardware that my soul needs to have this experience in this lifetime. My soul is a generator of energy, so this can be carried out, aka the plug.
Yeah, and like the purpose.
And source is the wall.
Yes. Oh my God, you just blew my mind. That's amazing that you channeled that.
Nailed it.
And that's interesting because, like Lucia's saying, this information came through literally less than a week ago, and we were like,
it was like during a Akashic class.
Yeah, it was during a class where the October class, guys, like was so, it was a learning experience for us too, because we went all over the place with channeling and information, and our students asked some amazing questions. So like, I feel really grateful for that class.
But that's why, and that's why, because they had asked this question that led to this answer. If that question hadn't been asked, we would have never known about it.
Yep.
Right? So thanks to that question being asked, again, October students, whoop, whoop, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks to that question being asked, where we were able to find out about this, and right away we jumped at the opportunity to share this with you guys. Okay. So now we understand the parts at play. But the bigger, so we understood this, and we had to understand this because they were actually talking about something else. All this whole thing was explained about the spirit and the soul was explained to get to a point that when you leave this incarnation, so you die, right? You die, your soul goes, oh, lifetime done, and your soul decides, obviously, leaves the body, right? What should really happen in a perfect situation, the body dies, the soul retrieves from the incarnation and starts ascending up to its fifth dimensional, whatever dimension it wants to go live in, right? Whatever dimension it pertains to. It goes up, it ascends. Your spirit is in this incarnation, only suits your soul in this incarnation, because again, you're not going to play the actor. For me, example, Lucia Spiga is not going to be playing the actor in another lifetime. Lucia Spiga is just this one, and kabam, she's done.
Yeah.
Right? So that software that is the spirit is only needed to be ingrained in this incarnation. So that means that when the body dies and the soul retrieves, the spirit should dissipate.
It's no longer needed.
It's
done.
Yeah, it's just software that was programmed for now. For this lifetime, right?
Yeah.
Okay. That's a perfect situation. I think it's understood, right?
That makes total sense to me. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So they all see it's a completion. It's done. It's like game over, right? Done.
What is it? Wow, 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 wow.
Yeah.
Wow, wow.
Like the old games.
The
duck hunt. Yeah. So
it's wow, wow, wow,
it's
wow.
done, right? They no longer can play a role because they depend one on the other. And when one leaves, the other needs to leave.
Yes. And what the soul gets from all this is it expanded via wisdom, via learning, right? And it remembers every memory. It remembers every memory. That's kind of like a double. Anyways, it has the memories of this lifetime and what it learned and the interactions it had. So that doesn't disappear. The memory of Lucia will always stay with the soul, right? Yeah. But the spirit's not needed anymore. The spirit just, goodbye. Spirit dissipate into the, the ether or whatever, into the nothing. It's just, yeah. Okay, so I think that's clear. That's a perfect situation. Then we have, obviously, the not so perfect situations. It could come from a place of the death was really traumatic. The person was totally not ready to leave yet. They had a lot of stuff pending. The person doesn't want to leave because they're really attached to someone, something, someplace, somewhere.
Karmic lesson not pending, right?
Yeah. Or the soul's just not ready.
Yeah.
Right? Just not ready. So what could happen if one of these things came into play strong enough that perfect scenario can play out? Then I have something that could happen, and there's 3 different scenarios can play out after that. So the perfect scenario is number 1. Then we have 3 scenarios that can play out if that perfect scenario doesn't play out. One is soul and spirit get stuck on this plane, which means that the soul's here with the program, and guess what? Body's gone.
Yeah.
Right? Now you as a human being, if you're able to see things, right? You'll be able to spot the non-incarnated soul walking around doing whatever it decides to do.
Or even just sense it. You don't have to see it. You can feel it. Like, it's there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny because I referred to that, like we were talking about one day. Like
I feel everything. You see everything. Yeah.
Yeah. So we refer to it the way we know it. Right. So if this happens where both get stuck, soul and spirit, I'm going to have an intellectual energy. The intellectual one is the spirit, okay? Intellectual because it can move around, it can interact. You might not sense or see it, but it can try to interact with you. It can try to find someone that can interact with it. That's why souls will try to find mediums, right? Mm-hmm. They're intelligent, they're intellectual, they're souls, they possibly know they're stuck, and they're trying to get somebody to help them get them out, right? So, but the cool thing about this scenario, well, it's not really cool, you know what I mean? But you know what I mean? Like cool as in the software is still here. Fascinating, yes. The software is still here, aka the spirit. So then the personality of that lifetime, it's like Lucia. Let's say Lucia's body died, my soul and my spirit is still here. I'm probably still going to be nagging Lorena. And you'll probably hear my little laugh in the back, like, ha, 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 or something.
And trying to read books.
Yeah, I'll be like going to spook out libraries, intellectually throwing books at people or something. Yeah. I don't know. But you know what I mean? Like, my soul can intellectually interact, move around, get anything it wants done, go anywhere.
And that's also a reason for that is that it doesn't know that it's done.
It could know, and it could also, the masters say, it could also decide that it's not ready, and it stays lingering because it wants to watch over somebody, possibly, for example.
But some of them don't know that they have to go. Like, that's something that
some of them do.
Yeah.
Some of them don't know that. Some of them don't know they're dead.
Yeah.
Some of them don't know they have to go, or some don't want to go yet. They're not ready.
Yeah, there's different scenarios in that sense. It's good to point that out, I think.
Well, yeah, that's why we listed the reasons why a soul could possibly get stuck, right? Okay, so that's one scenario. We have scenario number 2, where not the convenient thing happens, is soul stuck alone without the software. So it doesn't have that personality attached to it anymore. The spirit, the software program, managed to dissipate, right? So I just have this intellectual soul that's kind of rummaging around, and if you want to call it that, right, or whatever it's doing.
That's like the word I would use. Definitely stuck.
But again, it might not want to leave, so it might be staying here to watch over someone on purpose, and that's a typical soul. If it's stuck with the soul, because that's another thing to know. If the soul's stuck with the spirit, it's highly probable it doesn't know that it would died. If the soul is alone and the spirit dissipated, it's highly probable that soul decided to stay to watch over a loved one whom they wanted to make sure dealt with their death okay, or I'm worried about my child, right?
Yeah.
And I die, and my soul's like, you know what? I'm just gonna stay till I know that Aurora's okay, till I feel like she knows that I'm still here for her, and then I'm gonna go.
That happens. I see that in readings all the time. Like, it comes through of people. Like, I sense, and you can ask, and the soul will come through of the person. Of the, like, actually, yeah, I was around for a while because I needed to make sure this and that was okay. They were like looking over their family. It's so common.
Yeah, exactly. So that's scenario number 2. And then we have if the spirit is stuck alone. But the spirit's stuck alone without the soul and without the body, right? The software program just here, still in this place where we are. It's going to show up as patterns, is what they were talking to me about the other day when we were channeling it, right? So the patterns, it's like, for example, if it died from a traumatic situation, the spirit didn't retrieve, the soul did, the body died, and the spirit is going, maybe it was running away when it got shot in the back, let's say. That's the pattern. You're going to see that one switch of like weird energy or like weird white thing or something, or an orb, or you can see anything. It can show up in different ways. The way they're showing it to me, it shows up in different ways. It just depends on a lot.
That makes sense.
So that's the spirit repeating a pattern. In this case, that pattern was the moment he died, the spirit just kept repeating that pattern.
It's like it gets stuck in a loop, right?
Much. It gets stuck in a loop.
Yeah.
Again, it's remember, for the energy soul, from an energy soul level, it's software program.
Yeah.
And software programs also as well have loops.
Yeah, and they get stuck.
So when the body, wow, you're saying that I'm getting more. This is amazing. I'm like so into this right now. When the body retrieves, it's like the code breaks and it starts looping. The code broke and it started looping. So that scenario broke the code and now the code's looping and it shows up as whoosh,
to me it's
passing.
like a glitch.
And maybe it's like a glitch, yeah. So it's like passing. I want to say maybe it could do it like every day at the same time, or does it like, it usually has a clockwork to it.
Yeah.
Right?
It feels that way.
That's why the loop, right? Yeah, it's a loop. Right, okay. So that's one scenario. It could also be that, for example, a mother that always lovingly checked on her child at night. Right? And so when the soul retrieved, the body died, the spirit was very attached to that one habit that was a loving habit because the person felt that thing they wanted to do so much. This is an example, right? And so then the person dies and the loop goes back to that moment that was so important for that person to go check on their child every night. So you'll see the mother walking into the kid's room, and it happens every time at the same time at night, for example. Right? The mother checking on the child. Mother's not there anymore, child's not there anymore, but the mother's still doing that. Well, the spirit. The program is still doing it, right?
So what do you think, just a quick
yeah?
question, because I'm asking this for myself to see what I channel as well. But when we talk about mediums, and we've had mediums, like, I mean, look, Roberta Grimes, who's really into this death and stuff, and she's answered a lot of questions for us. And then we had like Laura Lee, and we've talked to other people, obviously. But to me, it's like, who are they contacting? Are they contacting spirits and souls?
So I looked this up before the episode because I knew that this loop thing, I knew that paranormal people knew about something like this and they called it something, but I didn't remember what it was. So I actively went to look for it, and paranormal investigators seem to call that looping residual energy. So they're calling it residual energy. It's like I guess they think it's accumulated energy that just keeps repeating.
That's left over from the life.
Yeah. So I think that's how they define it.
So would that be the soul or the spirit? Do you know what I mean?
No, that's a spirit. That's a spirit. But to confuse you here, I looked up also what they call the soul being stuck, the intellectual, and they call that spirit. So they say that spirit that's stuck is intellectual. That for us, the definition is soul. So I think we're talking about the same things. We're just putting different titles to it.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I would say that the only thing that differs here is that for me, spirit is looping, and for them, it's accumulated energy or something.
To me, it feels like the interaction that they have with it is just different. That's kind of what I'm feeding right now, like off of what they're saying to me. It's like they don't necessarily have to differentiate it. They just need to make whatever is there, like know how to interact with it to make it move forward or leave because it no longer is needed, like to understand. If it's a loop, it's taking it out of a loop. If it's the soul contacting another living human because it has something pending or doesn't want to leave, then it's explaining that and like transitioning it forward. It doesn't matter if it's a loop or a soul.
So when your question was when someone like Laura Lee, that's a medium that we had her on the podcast, when she communicates, I see her doing it with soul, with the intellectual part of, for the one that's connected to source, right? That's why when she's probably, maybe let's say that she were to connect with somebody that's a soul that's stuck, that's why she would tell them go to the light. You're not going to tell the spirit to go to the light.
No, I agree with that. But also there's moments where the spirit is attached to the soul and that they need to still move it forward. So I don't think it's
then the spirit. Yeah, once the spirit can't go back with the soul.
No, but they need to leave together. Like when I say leave, I mean like it's done, shut off. You're done. Like you're no longer needed.
If the soul's stuck here and a medium's helping out, the medium's probably going to tell them something like go to the light, whatever, and the soul starts going. Then the spirit should dissipate while the soul is leaving.
I see the same thing. But then what happens when it's just a spirit? Like who helps with that?
It's not intellectual. You can't interact with it.
I don't know. It's weird.
It can die down one day when the momentum of the software dies down or something. But even paranormal activity. If you look up the paranormal guys, when they realize it's residual energy, they just leave it as well. They don't do anything to clear it out.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
It's just residual energy.
It's
not intellectual.
Does it eventually just dissipate?
It does, but that could take hundreds of Earth years because it could take 5 years. It could take 100 years. I don't know. I really don't know.
Interesting.
They're not giving me a rule for it.
No, I don't. That's why I'm asking because I'm not getting that information.
Yeah.
I think you're more connected to this kind of channeling, you know?
It seems to be just left. It just seems to be just left. Because the soul's not either, they're not showing me the soul checking up on it because it doesn't affect, it really doesn't affect anybody because it's not intellectual. It's not going to do anything for anybody.
Yeah.
Or against anybody or for anybody. It's literally, it's so neutral. It's just something that's moving there.
That's so interesting. I love this.
It can't take away from you and it can't feed you.
Yeah. That makes sense. That makes total sense.
But that was a good question, though.
Yeah, but that's something that I would ask. You know what I mean? Like normally, anyway. It's like, who do they really deal with? And we've talked, and they explained it. And to me, if I reason it with my head without using the Akashic records, I would say, yeah, it's the soul that's stuck. Like they're working with the souls because they need to work with energy. That's their energy workers. So, but a lot of times, it can be scary and weird situations with souls that are still here with the spirit, with that program, because it could have those they could be angry, or they could be doing some repetitive things, and they could be stuck in a loop where I don't know, there was violence or something, and then it's scary. It could be scary and kind of like weird energy. So they also need to be prepared to work with that too, right? But that makes sense. So they wouldn't just work with spirit. Yeah.
So that's the thing that's the other thing we wanted to get into, right? What you were just saying. If it's a soul alone, its intentions are not going to be bad, right? If it's the soul with spirit and I have the software to it, who knows what kind of personality that spirit has ingrained in its software first, and how it died. It might have stayed angry about something, and that's when you have, like you said, poltergeist. That's a poltergeist.
That stuff scares me.
A soul that's stuck with call it a shitty software. Yeah. Or a software that left in a really bad state and can only stay in that state because the software stayed mad about something, right?
Right.
So it's like looking to get back. Or looking for
That's what I
to pay.
mean, yeah. Like there's...
Or frustrated.
That's some crazy energy work you got to do there as a medium.
Yeah.
And really remove... I don't necessarily get stuck on these negative things because to me, generally, these souls are just either, like you said, they don't want to leave because there's something pending that they don't want to let go of, and they feel like they have to accomplish it, and they somehow something happened where they had to leave, the body had to leave. But also, I think there's times when they're like, oh, I'm just going to stay for a little bit longer. They choose to do that. Like the soul will choose to do that for a while before it moves on to ascending, because to me, it's in, I don't want to say it's part of the contract, but they feel such a strong bond with the person that they have a contract with that they need to make sure that they're okay. Not that they can intervene or anything, but to me, it's more like, I just need to make sure.
Every mother that's listening can understand that. Like, even more so if your child's still young.
Totally.
I mean, I would probably want to stick around to make sure she was okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then you're also giving up your free will as a soul, like, to keep moving forward. No, I'm just saying, but you would be using that time because you choose to. I feel like the soul in some way has so much freedom in that sense to be like, well, actually, I'm not going to go into this life just yet.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to stick around for a few months or a few years, and then I'll go into my next mission of learning whatever lesson I need to learn, which I find really fascinating.
Yeah. I actually want to add 2 things that are coming through while you're talking. One of them is that they wanted me to clarify, in case, when they said poltergeist, there's also a negative, very negative poltergeist, which is, they would call it lower vibrational entities, which I think is the word that the paranormal people would use as demonic, right? The Akashic Records do not like this word. They're telling me already.
I don't like that word either. It doesn't resonate.
Yeah, they're calling it low vibrational entities that are limited in their aspects of life.
And light.
And light, yeah. So, know that if there's a poltergeist, it might not just be, oh, it's a really nice soul, but just has a really shitty software program. No, like, be careful, because it might be a low vibrational entity whom is here to wreak some sort of chaos, because they absorb energy via negative feelings, right? So if I create a negative feeling in you, I feed off of that. So it could be one of those 2 entities. So don't just right away discard and put your barrier down. They want to make sure you're protected and you're okay, and you don't mess with anything that is going to possibly follow you, that they don't want you to get into that. So that's the only reason why they're making me say that, because yes, a poltergeist can be a soul with a bit of a complicated spirit, is what they're saying, that is trying to act out because it's stuck in a anger or frustrated place, and it wants somebody, when like a child is really mad and they want the parent to know they're mad? It's like that. So, right? But just know that there's another kind of entity that could be put under the category for the Akashic Records of poltergeist.
The way they're showing that to me is like outside forces coming in too. So I think that's a matter also. It's not just the spirit and the soul that are here, like trying to do something quote unquote demonic, but it's more like these energies have penetrated in some way during this process. To me, it feels more like that.
It's not a soul.
Yeah, it's not a soul. It's this energy coming in and taking over, and that's inhibiting.
That's low vibrational entity.
Yeah, and it's inhibiting from the soul and the spirit moving forward and ascending and just finishing their cycle.
And those low vibrational entities can actually hold on to souls that are stuck here as well. Mm-hmm. That's like so, God, it's just, guys, it's so complex. Just everything. It's like you get into one thing and it jumps into 20 more things. It's ridiculous.
But this is a good lesson for anybody that's studying or wants to study Akashic Records. And it goes to show, if you do not ask the questions, you will not get the answers, because through the questions and you being this investigator and this like super curious being, that's where you're going to start getting these cool responses, right? But if you're not curious and you're not interested, then that information is not going to come through. We, like you said, we got this because someone in the class asked that question. Thanks to that, we're here doing this episode that is fascinating.
And I had something else to say, but now I lost it because I was getting into the poltergeist thing, and I was going to say after that. And now I lost it. What were you talking about when you were talking before I got into that?
I don't remember. I have my Akashic Records open. I get kind of lost.
I know, me too. I know. That's why.
Yeah. Sorry.
It was good, I think.
Well, I don't know.
We've given a lot of people things to think about.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is like a bombshell for a lot of people, even for me. I mean, this is something that came up less than a week ago, so just process this however you can and take it how you want to, right? This is just information coming through the Akashic Records. This is the way our master's guides are interpreting it. And even, like that goes to also show how you'll resonate more with certain topics and you'll be able to channel more. So like, see, Lucia channeled this. And then through that, I received some information, and then we went back and forth. And then when I receive, she'll receive more, because it just keeps widening the perspective. So, I don't think I would have necessarily channeled that in the class. I did get an answer, I remember that, but you resonate with these topics so much more that your masters and guys are like, yes, opportunity to chat about this. Let's do it.
Yeah.
They're excited, right?
But you know what it is also? Now that I know that my soul's studying light codes and creating universes, she needs to figure out how all this stuff functions to create this thing that she wants to create in her very, very future. So that does make sense that they're sharing with me, because it's also part of what she studies in a way, right?
For
If you
sure.
think about it.
100%. So she's probably wanting you to do more of this stuff, like more questions, more deeper rooted stuff.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know if you want to see if you can try to figure out what that was that you got.
I've been
no?
like, while we've been talking, I'm like, what is it I was going to say? Guys, this happens like when you're channeling, and especially if you have to wait for someone to finish what they're saying. I want to hear what Lorena's saying, and I also don't want to lose what I'm getting. I'm like,
I swear to God,
like
especially during episodes, you'll be saying something. I'm like, I got it. It's like I'm holding on to the thought in my brain, like physically.
Yes, you grab it.
And all of a sudden, it's like a blink of an eye, and I'm like, what was I thinking? Or what was in my brain? What was the message? Because obviously it comes through, and you think it feels like a thought, right? It feels like a thought in your head. It's not. It's channeled message. But it will, as soon as it came in, it'll freaking leave, and I cannot get it back unless somehow something pops it back into my.
Yeah, that's why I asked you what were you talking about, because then you'll hear a word and it'll bring it back, but you don't remember what you're talking about.
No, I
either,
don't. I really like it. All this episode feels like a blur already. The good things I edit these episodes, so I go back and I listen to everything, and then I learn it all again because I'm not connected at the time. So
yeah, it's true.
It's kind of good. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think I think this is a really interesting, very cool episode. And again, thank you to the October class.
You know who you are.
You know who you are. Shout out. It was amazing that they asked these questions, and also because being interested is what makes you ask these questions, and that's what makes you discover them. So keep interested. Like, what does it get? Keep curious. Like,
Stay curious.
You're supposed to be like a kid.
Yeah.
Be curious.
Yeah, we say that all the time. It's like, have fun with your channeling. Don't always just make it so serious. But like, this is a really good way of getting the answers you need in your life, right? But yeah, make sure you guys follow us on Instagram and on Facebook. We always post. We don't always post, but we sometimes post things consistently. But we try to keep you guys up to date and in the loop with things there, and keep you up to date with the new episodes that come out, so you don't miss one. And it's every Monday, just in case if you guys are new listeners. And yeah, we'll see you guys next week with a new episode. I believe we have a few interviews coming up, so make sure you stay tuned and you're subscribed to our podcast. And we'll see you guys all next week. Bye.
Thank you.